This is Nadersha in Chicago, and you're watching my channel, Knowledge for Quality of Life. Friends, for the last 2 weeks, we have been talking about ApoE 3.3, my case study, and ApoE 3.4, my wife's case study. And I thought about it that, since none of our family members are ApoE 2, but I'm going to be doing today's vlog on that. So those folks who are either ApoE 2.2, 2.3, or 2.4 can get benefit out of it. What the literature says. So before I do that, I'll be talking about some salient features of these genotype and what are the things which I came across in the literature while digging this information, particularly when I came across this genotype in my wife's case, that she was not up to date on her vitamin K2 status, which I mentioned earlier in my previous vlogs. So let me share my screen. So if you look at this snippet and the ApoE genotype 2.2, 2.3, 2.4, basically, as I said earlier, that, we have inherited one copy from mom or one copy from dad. That translates into these two SNPs. So this is a rare combination. 2.2 is about 0.5 to 1.4% of the world population. 2.3 is bulk of it, 12.3%. And 2.4 is 2 to 3%. It's a very rare genotype as compared to 3.3, which is about 70 to 75% of the world population, and then 3.4 and 4.4 combination. Now, this genotype, particularly ApoE2, they are considered as a protective genotype against cardiovascular disease, CVD, or Alzheimer's disease. It doesn't mean that they have a blank check, but the genetics is not something that can trigger those non-communicable diseases. Of course, personal habits play a big role, personal lifestyle play a big role. But when we are talking about the risk feature of the genotype, ApoE2s are more protective for cardiovascular and Alzheimer's as compared to 3.4 or 4.4. And 3.3 being typical, not very risky, not very risk-free. So they are typical, which is bulk of the population. Now, if you look at what type of diet, these genotype, as I mentioned before, that since ApoE2 folks metabolize fats and cholesterol very slow, it means that they don't reflect that much increase in their LDL as compared to folks who are 3.4 or 4.4. It means that people who are carrying 4 genotype, they metabolize fats and cholesterol pretty fast. So if somebody is like thinking of doing a keto, probably folks with 2.2 or 2.3 or 2.4 is more conducive, that it's not going to reflect in their LDL that much as compared to 3.4 and 4.4 folks. But again, this is just a guideline. Remember that, because individual traits makes a big difference. But, the whole idea of putting this in front of you guys so that, you are aware, of all the tools which are at our disposal, so that, when we make our diet alteration and we see something in the blood work, all of a sudden, some change, then you should be aware of what's going on, based on your genotype. Also, some folks ask me that, how we can get this tested. If you are in the United States, basically, if you have insurance, and you can ask your doctor to write you a referral. The doctor can write a referral for the test. It's called ApoE genotype test. Okay, and you don't need any expertise in reading this result, because the result is going to show one of the 6 copies, which I have mentioned. Either you're going to have 2, 2, 3, 2, 4, 3, 3, 3, 4, or 4, 4. So either you have it, whatever you have it for the rest of your life, because this is the once in a lifetime test. And once you know this information, you can mitigate the risk associated with that particular genotype as far as diets and the diseases are concerned. That's why I'm putting this information in series of vlogs, so that folks who are familiar with it, they have all the tools at their disposal. Now, dietary recommendation for ApoE2 genotypes is, they are okay as a matter of fact, in taking some amount of saturated fat, dairy products, since they don't increase their lipids. But always it's mindful being, it's a way to go, because you don't want to go gung ho on something that you are not risk associated with it, and you just loaded up something. The balance is the way to go. Balanced diet. So, but to some extent, then they can consume red meat, dairy products. But again, I am particularly against any processed food, any processed high saturated fat, any processed items. I'm totally against it. If it's in the marketplace, if it has gone through the processes, then I try to avoid it as much as possible. Choose healthy fats, just like a monounsaturated fat found in avocado or olive oil, polyunsaturated fats found in nuts, seeds, fatty fish. I'm a big fan of, cold water fish, like salmon, oily fish, which is loaded with omega-3s, which I have mentioned in my previous vlogs as well. Moderate cholesterol intake is okay, since they don't metabolize that fast. It doesn't reflect in their LDL. Just like when I say cholesterol, dietary cholesterol means eating some amount of chicken liver or grass-fed beef liver, or shrimp, fish item, seafood items, those type of things. Basically lean protein like fish, poultry, they are good also. So basically a Mediterranean diet, a little bit, in this case is also valid, provided that, if somebody is insulin resistant, then you have to be very mindful of carbs and grains and sugars, right? So this is the universal, because insulin resistance is the key factor, regardless which type of genotype you carry. You have to be very, very mindful for that, because that is a no-no for me, that, I'm trying as much as possible myself and my family to become more insulin sensitive rather than, be insulin resistant. And fiber-rich food, normally we don't consume as much as fiber as we should. At least 25 grams per day is recommended. But fiber, it doesn't get dissolved in our bloodstream. So even though if you take some cholesterol, dietary cholesterol, and if your intake has a fiber, it's going to take that fiber is not going to get dissolved into the system, and it's going to come out of the waste, and it's going to take the excess cholesterol with it. So fiber in our diet is good, and it gives you a mobility as well, regularity as well, and it so when you look at some content, food nutrition label, so if you look at it, that what is the total amount of carbs, and carb minus the dietary fiber, that's the net gram of carb which you are consuming, because the dietary fiber has a 0 gram of carb. Basically, it doesn't get dissolved into the system. So just remember that you have to have a fiber-rich diet, including some fruits, vegetables, whole grains, If again grains is, you have to be mindful that you are not insulin resistant. Otherwise, you have to limit yourself in the grain item as well, because any amount of carb which we consume, it will perk up our triglyceride and it will perk up our small LDLP. So it's all connected, as I've been saying all this time, because you can control the quality of your lipids to some extent. You can change the dynamics of it. I don't try to limit reduce my cholesterol, but I try to consume diet in a way that my demography of my particle distribution is such that it's moving towards the fluffy ones rather than the smaller ones. So the lesser the carb, the lesser the sugars in your diet, you are going to move towards the bigger particle size, which is conducive for your lipid panel, and it's good for your overall system. Mediterranean diet, as I said, that it's good. Extra virgin olive oil. Make sure that you are getting a best olive oil. This is just like a liquid gold, and it's great stuff, which I have mentioned in my one vlog, which I attributed to just particularly extra virgin olive oil. One important factor for folks with ApoE2. Now remember that when we are talking about 2 is purely 2. Both copies are 2. 2-3 is not completely showing the attributes of 2, but exhibiting some attributes of 3. 2-4 is in between the 2. So basically they say that 3-3 is pretty much synonymous like having a 2-2 as far as the attributes are concerned. So you have to be mindful if you carry one copy of 2, particularly 2-2, 2-3, or 2-4, that when you consume vitamin K2, and vitamin K2, I have done some information vlogs extensively on vitamin K2. I have done a one vlog on how to make natto, which is a Japanese dish which I consume on a daily basis. It is very, very potent in vitamin K2, MK7. But remember that if you are ApoE2, you have to be mindful, since they clear vitamin K2 very fast, very slow. They go very slow in the clearance rate. So they don't clear as fast as ApoE3, or particularly the fastest is ApoE4. So it means that if somebody is taking vitamin K2 MK7 form, since they have a longer half-life of 72 hours, if they consume daily basis, it's gonna back up into the system. It's not gonna clear, and it's gonna have a backup into the system, and it's gonna give you some side effects like palpitation, heart racing and stuff like that. So be mindful of when somebody is consuming vitamin K2, that you are not ApoE2. They do fare well with MK4 type. You remember that K2 has a 2 form, MK7 and MK4. MK4 it has about half-life of 4 hours. They clear from the system faster than MK7. So since ApoE2 folks clear slow, vitamin K2, so they do fare well with the MK4 form. Now, if somebody wants to take MK7, who are ApoE2, then I wouldn't take a daily basis. I would skip after, every third day, because, let that system clear, after 72 hours, and, you take the another dose. That's what I would do if I had that ApoE genotype 2. So I thought that it's very critical, because you cannot avoid vitamin K2, because if you are taking vitamin D, which is a must for each and every one to have a healthy quality of life, you have to have enough D. I have done enough vlogs on D, and once you take vitamin D, which is a hormone, I call it, you have to have a K2, so that it can direct the excess calcium in the right places. Remember that we have two proteins in our system. One is osteocalcine. The second one is 𝗔𝗣𝗢𝗚 and these two proteins gets activated only in the presence of enough vitamin K2 in our system. Otherwise, they are not going to get activated. And if they are not activated, they are not going to do their job, which they are supposed to. So osteocalcine grabs the excess calcium into the blood and takes it to the bone matrix for the bone formulation. The 𝗔𝗣𝗢𝗚, once it gets activated in the presence of vitamin K2, it prevents the calcium to get deposited onto the arteries so that our arteries don't become rigid. If the arteries getting a lot of calcium lodges, over time, those arteries are going to get rigid and you will lose the flexibility of your arterial system, and that will impede, increase the blood pressures and a lot of other issues. So, you have to take the calcium out of your arteries so that, our arteries remain flexible and supple and, very in pristine condition. So this K2 is something that, it's going to be a big blockbuster. It's in its infancy stage as far as research is concerned, but vitamin K2 is a big thing. So let me stop share my screen here. So this particular vlog for ApoE 2, 3, and 2, 4, those folks who carry this genotype, just be mindful of it. Particularly, one of the important thing which I have read in many forums and many channels, there are a lot of folks who experience this K2 and the side effect symptoms, and they think that it's a K2 which is doing it. It's not only K2, because the type of genotype they carry, it's not allowing the K2 to clear fast. So they may need to change the form of the vitamin K2. Particularly in Japan, they give a standard dose of MK4, 45 milligrams, which is 45,000 micrograms for osteoporosis treatment. MK4 is okay with everybody because it clears fast. It doesn't remain in the system. So the 45 milligrams is divided into 3 doses, morning, afternoon, and evening, and they do okay. So there's no concept of backing up. So I thought that I'm going to be putting out this information for all the folks who are ApoE 2, 3, 2, 4 to have benefit out of it. If you have any particular questions, concerns regarding the information which I have imparted today or in the previous vlogs, please include in the comment section and I'll try to address it and respond it to as well. Hopefully see you next week.